Now, open burning of plastics is happening in Sri Lanka together with other waste streams burning, which is significantly polluting the air because the burning process generates particles. And then what happens is when you burn plastics at low temperatures, ideally it has to be 1200 centigrade. So that's the very reason why in the health sector, we really want the incinerator second chamber to reach up to 1200 centigrade. Um, because if you just burn plastics at low temperatures, in addition to the particles, it is generating dioxins and furans, which can cause cancers in humans. These dioxins and furans are known carcinogens. And most importantly, they don't degrade easily. They stay in the environment. They persist in the environment. And not only the cancer-causing properties, but in addition to the cancer-causing properties, these suppress our immune systems. These suppress and of course will affect the reproductive ability. So there are other adverse health impacts as well. So open burning of plastics at low temperatures is very, very dangerous because of these issues. And I'm just trying to point out something else. Do you know in Sri Lanka, even currently, most of the households, they use firewood for their cooking purposes. Of course, there is a disparity because I suppose the DHS survey done in 2016 revealed around 66 of the households in Sri Lanka still use firewood as the primary cooking fuel. And then, as I mentioned, there is a disparity. In the estate sector, it is around 80% of the households. Rural sector, it's 75%. But in the urban settings, of course, it was around 35%. Do you know how most of these women who cook with firewood, how they initiate the fire? Actually, we have done surveys, and when we go from district to district, we have been asking from the health sector even, and we know they are using plastics to initiate the fire of these firewood cookers, right? Burning of plastics. They get the yogurt cups because there is no proper recycling happening. There is no proper plastic waste collection mechanisms, especially in these rural areas. So therefore, they burn these things. And on top of that, they know when you have these containers everywhere, that is going to be breeding grounds for mosquitoes, dengue, all kinds of other negative health impacts. And then, of course, the shopping bags and even the lunch sheets, when they have these things at home, what they do is they put it into the firewood cookers. So you can understand what is happening inside these households. Unfortunately, the most vulnerable small children are with them when the mothers are cooking. So you really can understand the gravity of the issue. Actually, that process is creating household air pollution. And of course, I'm sure this is the only country in the world where they put these plastics when they are initiating, the cooking process with firewood, unfortunately, and then creating a lot of cancer-causing gases inside their houses. As I mentioned, we also use plastics in the health sector a lot, but certainly it's very important that plastic waste is properly managed in the health sector. Otherwise, again, if incineration does not happen properly, it can create, these gases to be formed, especially these carcinogens, as well as maybe water pollution, soil pollution, so all that. And just to tell you, our pollution is one of the world's single largest health risks, giving rise to acute toxic effects, chronic toxic effects. And according to the WHO, around 7 million deaths happen usually in 1 year. Annually, this is happening, and it will rise when the air pollution conditions are aggravating, when there is a lot of air pollution. So you can see outside air pollution resulting in around 4.2 million deaths, while household air pollution is contributing to 3.8 million deaths, and there is some overlap. So usually what they say is 7 million deaths a year. That is something very significant. And please understand, most of these are premature deaths because there are children, there are young ones, there are the working age group people who have not reached, their life expectancy. So therefore, these are premature deaths. And one very important message that I would like to give you is air pollution is a significant risk factor for these non-communicable diseases that we are fighting so hard. It is a significant risk factor for lung cancer, stroke, heart disease, and long-term, or we call it chronic lung diseases. So you can see we are fighting so hard with all these non-communicable diseases and air pollution, especially if we don't manage the plastic wastes together with other waste streams as well, but certainly contributing to this problem in a serious manner. And just to show you a photo of the lungs, this is actually, these photographs were given by a cardiothoracic surgeon in India. So what he told me was, well, he has been operating for 30 years now, and this is what he sees now. You can see the black mottling. So these are the lungs of persons living in areas where the air is polluted. These lungs are not at all normal. Lungs are pink and very elastic. Unfortunately, you can see, these are not normal lungs, and you can see the black mottling also. So we should be very careful about these, and we should sort of, be mindful, and we need to manage these issues. And most importantly, there are the vulnerable groups, the small children, because their systems are not mature. And of course, pregnant women, they have growing fetuses inside, as well as older people and certain occupations. Those already having non-communicable diseases like heart disease and stroke and maybe other cancers, all of them, they are at a higher risk of developing negative impacts due to, air pollution. Now, I'm trying to highlight this fact and draw your attention on today's children's burden of disease. Out of the 7 million deaths, of course, we have so many children. They have not done anything. It is the responsibility of the mature members of this species, Homo sapiens sapiens, to protect the immature members. Unfortunately, because of the actions of the so-called mature members, they need to sacrifice their lives, which is not acceptable. And now when it comes to environment, we talk about generational justice. Of course, beyond that, we talk about intergenerational justice also. Even so we need to be mindful, we are not doing justice to the children by polluting the environment and then getting their health affected due to that. Of course, air pollution is stunting our children's brains, and you can see the adverse or the negative impacts starting from the lungs, the increased risk of developing asthma, and even things like autism. Now they say there is a relationship between autism and air pollution, and low birth weight, premature birth, And most importantly, we need to understand when children are exposed to air pollution, within houses or outside houses, they are at an increased risk of developing heart disease, diabetes, and stroke in adulthood. So this is something very serious. And some of these occupations you can see, like traffic police officers, the municipal solid waste handlers, they are also at a high risk because of occupational exposures. And one other example I would like to draw is this e-waste. We are consuming a lot. And then, of course, there are informal economy e-waste recyclers where they burn these things at household level. And e-waste as plastics. So you can see, I'm just showing some of the examples which are happening in Sri Lanka. You can see the small children, the pregnant mothers, and so many of them, they are exposed to these toxic emissions, I would say, from burning plastics. And then, of course, they're at a high risk of developing negative health